too long in this place. That bright smile long gone been replaced. From ear to ear I see that fear in your face. Tell me when the last time you felt safe, cause there's some evil people in the streets. Evil at your front door, creeping while you sleep. It's time to raise up, show that evil we ain't weak. We don't turn the other cheek, I can show you how to be strong. Come on, follow me. Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy.
Hello, hello, hello. Insights of a Survivor. I am PJ. My camera is being wonky. This is really, it would be doing this the first day back, but you know how I am. I don't care. I'm going to be me no matter what we get. We fight through the obstacles. I'm sorry. I got lazy, you guys. I'm just going to be honest. I needed to take a sabbatical. So I ended season 2 a little early, so I have to get back into my groove, but I'm here. And I am going to show up. And I thank you guys all for being here to season 3 of Insights of a Survivor. I'm truly grateful. I'm truly grateful that you guys are all here to be a part of the next chapter of my journey and go along with this with me. But before we begin, you know, I always offer these gentle notes. This podcast can discuss trauma, neglect, abuse, emotional wounds, survival responses, and healing. Some episodes may include conversations about difficult experiences, nervous system responses, grief, anger, and the long-term impact of trauma. If at any point you feel activated, overwhelmed, or emotionally stirred, please honor your capacity. You are always allowed to take a break, step away, or return when or if you feel ready. This space was created to validate, empower, and to support survivors, not to re-traumatize you. So if you feel that way, please walk away. And everything that is shared here is intended to reflect growth. Your well-being will always come first. So please make sure this season is intentional, is focused, and is necessary. Okay? So thank you so much again. This season, again, I'm going to start with something that I'm going to be stepping into a series called Stop Apologizing. Stop Apologizing. We're taught to apologize for everything that was never wrong with us in the first place. Oh, by the way, before we go any further, these shows are going to be a lot shorter, you know, no more hour long, no, not as many guests. You're going to start noticing some changes. We're going to focus on the intention. This is the new chapter, and we're all going to walk this road. The next 9 weeks, I'm going to step into a series called Stop Apologizing. We were taught that we need to apologize for our anger. We need to apologize for our boundaries, for our grief, for our instincts, our voice, for changing, for needing space, for saying no, for remembering, for surviving. You know, the list goes on and on. We were conditioned to suppress what's natural within us, to silence what's normal, to shrink what was protecting, what was protective and protecting us, and to perform healing in ways that made other people comfortable. And this season is about undoing all of that. So over the next 9 weeks, we're going to talk about emotions, traits, and truths that survivors were taught to never express, even though these are normal, human, healthy, and completely valid feelings and emotions. This series is not about becoming softer to be accepted. It's about becoming more honest with yourself, more integrated, more aligned, because healing is not self-erasure. It's not gonna, we don't sit here and smile. That's actually continuing with the trauma to be comfortable. It's about reclamation, reclaiming who we are. So welcome to season 3. Welcome to my Stop Apologizing series, which you may have seen. Those of you that follow me on my social media, I have been posting things which kind of made me want to do this. So this title, the opening for season 3, the title is Stop Apologizing for Who You Became as a Result of Trauma and Neglect. That's where we are at right now. So we're going with making things clear. This is not about teaching you to be cruel, because neglect, abuse teaches hyper awareness. Instability teaches control. Emotional consistency teaches detachment. So these are a part of our nervous system. These are the strategies that our bodies had to come up with to keep us safe. They're not personality flaws. When you had to grow up too fast, people called you mature. When you stopped trusting easily, people called you difficult, because it's like, okay, why are you asking me? When you became observant and cautious, people called you intense. Stop needing anyone, people call you cold. When you start saying, you know what, I don't care if you think I don't care what you think about me. Now you're being cold. Now you are really being, what's it called? Distant. That's the word I was looking for. But what they're seeing were protective systems. Those were your body's way of protecting yourself. Your hyper independence may have come from you realizing that no one was going to come and help you. So I have to depend on myself. It wasn't because you didn't want help. You were programmed not to ask for help. You were programmed not to expect help because no one was coming to help you. Your guardedness may have come from broken trust. You know, how many times have you been lied to before you had to figure out that there's things that you just can't trust about the world or about certain people? That you being guarded does not mean that something is wrong with you. Your trust was broken so many times. It gets to a point where you don't know who to trust. People pleasing, that part comes from needing safety. So if I don't want to argue with you, if I'm not confrontational, I'm going to just say, yeah, I'm going to be a yes man, you know, because I don't want to deal with what comes with you being upset with me. I need to feel safe. You're So your body's shutting down to protect you, and you're not defective. That doesn't mean that you're defective. That means that your body was taught to adapt. So in a sense, you had to adapt. So what labels were placed on you that were actually your body and your mind's way of adapting? Who defined your survival traits as flaws? Like, who told you that that was wrong with you? So I'm going to stop right there and kind of let you think about that. Who taught you that your survival traits were flaws? And what labels were placed on you that were actually your body's way of adapting to trauma? Okay, so like I said, I'm going to let you sit on that for a second, but just know that thinking on that, you're not defective. You are a defective. That's not a flaw. That's evolution, honestly. Another angle is people, you're shamed. People are shame around who you had to become. People make you feel bad about the growth that you had to make in order for yourself to survive in a certain situation. And this is where it gets deeper. Many survivors feel embarrassed about who they had to become. I felt embarrassed about who I had to become to survive. You know, I feel bad about how hard I became. I'm not an easy person. You know, I get very defensive very quickly because of who I had to become to survive. How reactive I can be. Not responsive, reactive. What do you mean? What do you want? Why are you here? How distant I can feel. You know, I'm here in Costa Rica. I've been here for about 2 years now, and I feel really separated from a lot of things that I'm used to. Though this is a beautiful experience, I still feel distant. You know, how much control I need. I need to have so much control over everything because I want to make sure that I don't owe anyone or I'm obligated to anyone for anything. And that goes to making sure, me knowing how independent I have become as a result of having to submit. And that shame is triggered when someone says you've changed. They tell, oh, you've changed. Or you're not the same. You're not who you used to be. No, I'm not who I used to be. Okay, yes, I used to be unprotected. I used to be overexposed. I used to be more accessible to harm. And after I left and after I grew, growth, it kind of changes you. Survival changes you. Awareness changes you. And realizing who you had to become in order to survive. You know, and sometimes we have to look at ourselves and we don't like who we had to become to survive. Grief is for the softness that wasn't protecting us. I tell my family this all the time, that I am not as hard. Like, if you know who I really am before all of the trauma, I was very happy, lucky, soft, sensitive, caring, loving, and that softness wasn't protected. So I grieve that. Grief is also for the innocence that wasn't guarded. If you followed me last season, Spotify, you guys. I know when there wasn't even a season 1. My season 1 is on Spotify. And during those 2 seasons, you hear a lot about me sharing my story about my lifestyle, what I've gone through. So in that story, you learned that my innocence wasn't protected, you know. And I also grieve of the version of myself that I didn't know, who I could have become, a version of myself that I don't know yet. Excuse the dog barking, you guys already know where I live. That's what happens. It usually doesn't happen this late. It's like every time I get on this live, they want to talk too, so they want to tell you hi too. But yes, to grieve a version of myself that didn't know who I was. But survival versions, survival versions of you deserve not criticism. I read that part because I wanted to make sure I said it right. Survival versions of you deserve compassion, not criticism, because you had to become who you had to become in order to survive and get through that with, or just newly free from a traumatic situation. So what part of yourself feels the hardest to accept? Mine is the fact that people think I'm mean. Costa Rica. It's really hard to feel like people would think I'm a mean person when I'm not really a mean person. I'm really caring and loving, but I've been done certain types of ways, and it was hard for me to trust. So during this healing journey, I learned to open myself up again, just be more aware of what are they called, red flags. If you notice red flags, and you don't have to be cautious and aware with every single person, you know how to protect yourself. And what did that part protect you from? What does that part that is hard to accept, what does that protect you from? For me, that protects me from being taken advantage of, because I have been known to be taken advantage of. I've let people live in my home. Again, if you know my story, you know my story. And if not, I encourage you to go back into those episodes, even if you need to find me on Spotify and see and hear some of the things that I've had to endure because of the heart that I felt like I had to turn hard in order to protect myself. Okay, so like I said, survival, and that's why I say survival versions of you deserve compassion, not criticism, because I would have never been the way I was if it wasn't for me feeling like I needed to survive. Now, is that a justification for any negative behaviors? No. And that's another thing that we're going to learn. We're going to learn how to process our negative emotions into something positive so that we don't react, we respond. Another angle is knowing the difference between ownership and apologies. We're going to talk about that. You know, growth requires ownership, but ownership is not an apology for existing. So it's ownership, not apologize. And there's a difference. I'm sorry, I'm broken. I need space, and I'm sorry, I'm difficult. You see the difference? I'm working on my triggers. So I'm owning my actions. I know that I have to work on my triggers. I'm not sorry for being broken. That's the difference. I'm working on my triggers versus I'm saying, and I'm sorry for being broken. No, I can't be sorry for something that I didn't do to myself. I need space versus I'm sorry for being difficult. I don't feel like me needing space is being, that's my boundary. If I don't want to be around you, maybe I need that time to process so that I can react in a negative way. You know, versus I'm sorry, I'm damaged. I'm not sorry, I'm damaged. I do struggle with trust. That's asking for patience versus me apologizing for something that had nothing to do with me. My damaged life was not anything that I did to myself. I do struggle with trust, and I'm not sorry for what someone else has done to me. It wasn't my fault. So you can't take responsibility for how your body and the way you adapted has impacted others. You can take responsibility. I'm sorry, I said can't. You can take responsibility for how the way you've adapted has impacted others. You can refine your responses and learn how not to react, and you can learn owe anyone an apology for refinement. Again, it's not erasing who you are. And I'm going to ask a lot of reflection questions. As you haven't noticed, I'm asking in each one, like, where are you apologizing instead of communicating? Where in your life do you see yourself apologizing instead of communicating? Apologizing for hurting someone's feelings, for asking them to call before you. Don't just show up at my house. Please, can you call me before you come? Are you apologizing for that? No, you should not. What would ownership sound like without shame? You know, like, hey, I need this boundary respected. I need you to call before you come over. That's not harsh or mean. That's a boundary. And it's not intended to hurt anyone. That's intended to protect yourself without feeling shame of doing it. Healing is refinement. Refinement. I just said that. I'm going to refine. You have to refine yourself, not erase yourself. Refine. Don't ever do that. You have to look at who you are becoming now. And that's an authority as a survival version of yourself. But you do not disown who you are either. You integrate who you are. You don't stay in that version of yourself. You integrate it. You because that person is who you are. That's a part of who you are. You can't erase it. You learn to hold strength without being rigid and without collapsing. You don't have to be broken to be soft. You can be gentle and loving and caring and still be strong. You can rebuild trust without losing discernment because you still have to be aware. You still have to watch for red flags, but you can have a level of trust. As we're telling them, everything is about levels. Who you will accept, what you will accept, how you will accept it. So, you could trust and have them trust them at a certain level, and then just depending on what they do is going to determine whether that trust goes up or down. And you can be independent without isolating. So I can be independent. I can go and live. I can move back to California and be independent without isolating myself to do that. I don't have to. I don't have to erase that part of me. I don't have to miss my family and miss my home to be independent. You don't burn down your survival self. You evolve who that person is. Some survival traits still serve you. They do. Discernment, resilience, awareness, self-sufficiency, emotional intelligence. All of those they still serve you. So you need to use that. Some just need some updating. So another question is, what survival trait still serves you? Mine would be more of the trust thing. It's not that I don't trust, but I need to watch how much trust I give in the beginning. What's the survival traits need updating and not deleting? I'm going to say protect you, but the level of anger that you have is going to determine whether it's you reacting or responding. But I'm moving ahead. That's next week. That's next week. This week we're not. Next week we're going to talk about anger, but don't worry about that. So this is where you can speak personally. You can share a moment when someone told you you've changed. You can share a time that you've wrestled with being called intense or guarded. You can share how building yourself has made you look differently in the eyes of others, and you can also allow yourself the ability to not apologize for it. There are traits that I have within myself that will do things like help me build a community. Sorority Incorporated is just recently 501c3 approved, and that passion that I had in myself to not want to feel left out and alone is what drove me to create this sorority where there's going to be a sisterhood of like-minded individuals to come together and build a community to help reach a broken community, help mentor young girls, and use the passion that we have inside of ourselves from us having to survive and learning how to survive correctly. Not even surviving, learning how to live correctly and allowing those survival traits to be there and not control us. We could teach that to the youth, which again, in my mentor program, where I'm going to have high school age girls mentor looking up to us, we could teach them those necessary steps. So I realized that the world will criticize the armor it forced you to build. The world will criticize you for being someone that you will be judged for how hard you are because they were beating you when you were soft. And then they'll question you as to why you're this way. Why are you so mean? Why are you so standoffish? Why are you so cold? Why are you so distant? It's because that's who I had to be to survive. So never apologize for that. Never apologize for who you had to become in order to survive. So, again, I said I wasn't going to hold you guys long. And then if this conversation resonated with you, and if you're tired of apologizing for evolution, this season 3 is in existence. Why it is here. Make sure, please, and subscribe to Empowered Voices Survivors so that you can watch my show Insights of a Survivor weekly, and follow me on this Stop Apologizing series. This Stop Apologizing series is about reclaiming the parts of you that were misunderstood, mislabeled, or minimized. Please share this episode with someone who has been told that they have changed, and in reality, they just grew. And if you are ready for a community beyond my podcast, Nova Sorella Incorporated was built for women who are done shrinking their survival traits and ready to refine them into leadership. We are currently welcoming new members and hosting an upcoming informational session the beginning of March. You can go to my website, www.novasorella.org, and you can register directly through my website and learn what intentional aligned sisterhood actually looks like. And for the next generation, I've mentioned that I am also involved in recruiting. We're age of grades 9 through 12 for Nova Sorella Mentoring, for our Nova Sorella Mentoring program. This is a leadership development, confidence building, emotional intelligence, and safe community program that I lost myself. Sorry. And a safe community during critical years of identifying women. So we're here to build, develop, and grow our future women and our future leaders in this world. We will be hosting a recruiting informational session for this mentoring program as well. And the registration is also available on the website, www.novasorella.org. And I will put that in the comments below. And if you know someone who deserves guidance instead of survival, this is a space that was created for them and work alone. So before I close, I want you to sit with this. Who benefits when you apologize for who you became? What happens when you stop apologizing? If you became more independent because of trauma and neglect, that was intelligence, not failure. And now we learn how to use those traits instead of apologizing for them. You are not broken, you are not defective, and you are adaptive. And this is episode 1 of season 3, which is about reclaiming the truth. Welcome to season 3 of Insights of a Survivor. And I will see you on our next episode, where we will tell you to stop apologizing for your anger. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope you come next week to hear more about our Stop Apologizing series. Share, like, subscribe. Mwah. I will see you on the flip side. Enjoy your weekend.
It's been dark way too long in this place. That bright smile long gone been replaced. From ear to ear I see that fear in your face. Tell me when the last time you felt safe, cause there's some evil people in the streets. Evil at your front door, creeping while you sleep. It's time to raise up, show that evil we ain't weak. We don't turn the other cheek, I can show you how to be strong. Come on, follow me. Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy.